Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kylie Singh, Senior Content Marketing Manager over here at Socialive. Today is super exciting because it's the first of many virtual product open houses we'll be hosting, so stay tuned. As we walk through this, drop any questions you have in the chat. We'll answer them in real time, and I will, be personally responding to them. And with that said, I'll pass the mic to Jonathan Javi, our in-house Socialive expert and Senior Director of Solutions Engineering.
Awesome. Thanks, Kylie. Hey, everybody. Really excited to have you here today. Excited to be kicking off this series. This is the first of many to come. As Kylie mentioned, it's a product open house. So we're going to be spending today in a rather intimate session, actually, as you can tell here. This is a Zoom meeting that we're on. And really would encourage everybody throughout this, please feel free to ask your questions. We have the chat section that was mentioned. You can locate that along the bottom of your screen. There's a chat icon. Drop your questions in there as we go. We'll be answering probably throughout, certainly at the end. So please go ahead and do that. Hey there, Thomas from Puerto Rico. Awesome. So folks, the focus today is really going to be, bringing to life various opportunities as it relates to video, regardless the role that you're in, regardless the team that you sit on or what your initiatives are with video. We'll showcase, how leveraging Socialive as a technology platform can help you scale what you're doing, sourcing HD recorded content from people around the world in really controlled ways, creating rich on-brand, on-message video content for live streaming purposes. It could be for live events, which certainly has become a hot topic and something that maybe a lot of folks on this call have attended, given that there's really not a lot of physical events taking place today. A lot of companies have converted or pivoted over to virtual events, or other live streaming initiatives, live streaming across social channels, internally at organizations. And in addition, Socialive helps teams create on-demand video. So, marketers and communications teams, learning and development teams, really you name it. Wherever there's a place where video can help drive messaging and, help communicate in ways where your audience is actually going to hear your message and walk away having, gleaned that message. We'll showcase how you can easily go about creating your video content for live or on-demand purposes. Again, please, drop your questions in the chat as we're going through this. I'll share my screen as we get into this and provide a demo here. Again, at a high level, Socialive, we're an enterprise video creation platform. We're used at small and mid-sized companies as well. And our whole purpose is to help you do more with video. We're living in a world where it's really the way we need to be communicating if we're going to reach our audiences with the most impact. So let's take a look at how we can do it with ease, but without sacrificing our quality, our impact with our audience, our control throughout the whole process of getting our video created and out the door to our audiences. All right, so I'm going to pull together I'm going to set up my screen share here. You should all be able to see my screen at this point. Socialive's cloud-based. So as we're going through this, we'll see that I'm actually operating in my browser. You don't need to install anything special in order to use the platform. And on my screen, I'm currently logged in as a producer. So this means that currently we're looking at two key areas I'm going to point out. One is a video library. As we're thinking about our video opportunities, well, some cases it might be recordings that we've done within the platform. In other cases, it might be live streaming content that we've delivered out live to our audiences. Or maybe we've had folks acting as content contributors into us. All these are different opportunities that our platform helps support. All this content lands ultimately in a cloud-based library. So no matter where you're located, you can log into your account in Socialive and access all of this recorded content. Actually, some of the things that we'll talk about are not just how you can access and download this content, but how you can easily clip into short form pieces, from your live or recorded long form content you've done. Easily add branding to these elements and get it finalized before you may, publish it out and repurpose this content across any number of channels and in any number of ways. We've done a live event. Let's make sure we retarget our audience with some of the best highlights from that. We've done a thought leadership piece. Let's make sure we're clipping out highlights from that and republishing it out to our audiences to make sure that they're engaging on those moments. We've done a great piece for, internally around our learning and development program. Well, let's make sure that we, capture those micro moments of best practices and learning and enablement content and can easily publish it and repurpose these in our internal LMS systems, right? We'll come back to this section because our recordings are incredibly important for driving the value ultimately that we'll get from our video content. we're going to start in the Socialive studio. This is the main creation hub in our platform. It's often described as a television control room in the cloud. This environment here that we're looking at, our studio, it allows us to take different live cameras, access camera feeds from people around the world, uploaded videos and images, and combine these together into a video production, add graphical overlays, split screens and picture-in-picture, really bring together like a television style news broadcast if we want to do that. And we can use this interface to go live to our viewers or just to record what we're doing. So we'll walk through this kind of going left to right. On the left side of our screen, we've got our sources, and this is what we're going to use to build our video, right? So live sources is going to be cameras. You can use really any type of camera that you might need to with Socialive. So here, I'm just using the built-in on my laptop, but if I wanted to connect in webcams, if I wanted to use DSLR cameras, full-fledged video production setups, you name it, you can easily connect that into the computer and use it with Socialive. I can do that as the producer, but as we see in a moment, some of the other opportunities I'll have will be to invite in remote guests into the experience, which I'll do today. And our remote guests, think of them as guest presenters, they too will be able to leverage really any type of camera setup that they want to. I'm going to go ahead and actually invite some guests in here. So I'm going to bring in a few team members of mine who are also on this Zoom with us. So Jason and Tiffany, when you can, please go ahead and join up. Folks, we'll get a little bit more, we'll be able to provide more color on what that experience is like for our guest presenters who join in. But your ability to bring multiple guest presenters and support people, maybe folks who remain behind the scenes during our video creation, but will help support and guide the experience as needed. We can invite them into Socialive, and they'll join up, and again, we'll speak more to what their experience looks like. This is a different environment from where our viewers are going to be if we're talking about live content. So I'll just want to take a moment and also provide some clarity there, right? Within Socialive, we're focused on the content creation side. Ultimately, we're going to give you the opportunity to stream across any of your channels. Again, if live is what you're focused on doing. And that's where your attendees and your viewers will view the content. It's where they'll engage with it. So keep that in mind as we're going through the Socialive side of things. This is really where your content is created and able to be published from. All right, so my guests who I've invited, Jason and Tiffany from the team, they've joined up, and actually I've been prompted to join them in the green room. That's where our guests land in Socialive. The green room environment gives us the opportunity, like we haven't started our broadcast, we haven't started a recording session yet. Yeah, I can communicate with Tiffany and Jason in the green room. I can, take a look at them. I can make sure that camera feeds look good, we sound good. We can go through any talking points we need to and get comfortable before we begin. So our green room within Socialive is actually a really important lobby experience that helps us manage the experience. And importantly, make sure that, our senior executives, our thought leaders, our celebrity talent, our trainers, whoever's involved in the content, that they're comfortable and ready to go before we begin. So we've talked quite a bit about live sources, and there's actually more types of live sources we can integrate with Socialive. We'll save that for later, but we're giving producers a lot of flexibility with the types of cameras and screen sharing and live elements you can incorporate into any of your video creation. So we also have a section for uploaded content. We call it media here, and you can upload from your hard drive any videos, any images that you want. And this helps us do more storytelling with our content now. It's not just about turning on a live camera. This is about up-leveling the experience. Again, for recorded and live content, right? But I think a lot of us today are starting to feel, I don't want to use the term Zoom fatigue. I mean, we're on Zoom, but I don't want to use that term because I think it's more than that. It's not just that we're on meetings a lot these days. It's that we need experiences that actually compel us. And if you're going to do that, there needs to be a storyline. There needs to be additional visual elements you're tying in that drive interactivity. And that's really what we're going to focus on a bit here. So one of the opportunities that we'll have to integrate those sorts of more compelling elements and more storytelling will be through the media that we choose to integrate. Let's start building out our content we're about to produce. So across the top of my screen, I have an area where we're going to create scene by scene. We're going to create our storyboard for today's content. So for scene one, I have Tiffany in there right now, but actually I'm going to swap that out. What I want to begin with is a kind of a welcome screen. So this is an image I've uploaded, and I'm just simply dragging and dropping it into place. This is how easy it's going to be as we build out our show. Mind you, I can be doing this weeks ahead of time if I want. So if we have a recording session scheduled, or if we have a live stream scheduled, back up a few weeks. At this point, we start planning out our content. We can get all the pieces in place. We can even invite in our guests who may not join with us at the moment, right? I'm going to invite in another guest here who's not going to join, but who I can easily, you see, I have a placeholder for them. Well, as I'm building out my content way ahead of time, I might choose to use their placeholder because they're not going to be in the experience with us yet. This gives me the benefit of, again, building this all out as far in advance as I need to. In scene 2, let's create a little intro sequence here. So in this case, we have a welcome image. We're going to roll into, this video. This is a brand video relevant for today's discussion. After that, we're going to create another scene, and now we're going to get into the live cameras, the live discussion. So here I'm going to come back to live sources. Let's bring in Tiffany here. Tiffany's going to be our moderator today. When we bring Tiffany on screen, I'm going to want to incorporate some things though, maybe branding, maybe the speaker's name or location, maybe some prompts even to get folks, engaging with, engaging in the comments if we're doing this as a live piece. Regardless, what I'm showing you here are not just that we're going to bring it to a live camera next, but that we can actually, complement this with branding, with speaker names and locations, calls to action, key takeaways for our viewers, whatever. These graphics are fully custom. The entire screen is yours to customize if you want, including, the idea of like maybe full screen graphics you may want to present. It's really flexible. So you think about, well, what's the storytelling we want to do? What's the branding we want to incorporate? What do we want our audience to do as a result of what we're presenting? And we can find ways to incorporate that here using graphics as an example. Well, I've added in the logo here. So when we come to Tiffany's camera, the logo will be in place. And up next, we are going to create another scene. And at this point, Tiffany will introduce, some guest panelists here as we get into a panel discussion. Instead of creating a new scene, I'm just going to duplicate this scene. And we're going to actually come into our layouts now along the bottom of my screen. The layouts allow me to format my screen a little bit differently. They allow me to bring on multiple sources together within a single frame. So it could be picture in picture. It could be different, side by side for various types of discussion and interviews. It could be side by side with, slide content or video content or something. We provide a lot of different options here within the layouts. It really depends on the type of content you're ultimately going to produce. Maybe it's a full out round table like we're looking at here. For today, we're going to get into discussion with 3 different individuals here. So I'm just simply going to drag and drop the cameras into place where I want them. So I brought myself in on the left. I've got, Tiffany who's going to be in the middle and Jason on the right. Maybe we want to bring in, their names as part of this. So we have everybody represented on screen in the right way. I'm going to customize this backdrop as well, because now we're using a layout where that black backdrop was revealed. So that can be, consistent with our branding, our colors, our textures, whatever we want to bring in. And at the tail end here, I'm going to add a scene for our thanks for joining and a call to action. And this is an example storyboard, right? I mean, your content could take many different shapes and forms. Whether we're going live or whether we're just creating a video for on-demand viewing, this is an example storyboard where we have like a welcome sequence. We bring it into our live cameras that they can, Tiffany can introduce us, and then we'll bring it into the discussion and conclude at the end with a call to action. Very neat, very tidy. It's with this ease that I can actually set things up. And as mentioned, I could have done this weeks ahead of time if I want. So for me, as somebody who's going to produce this, even if I've never created a video in my life, I can actually do this. We're going to talk about, before I actually start making this video, on the right side of the screen, we're going to talk about a few things. First off, we have the option to broadcast live or simply use this interface to record what we're doing. One thing that I'll mention, particularly for communicators, video teams, marketers, you name it, folks working in regulated spaces like financial services and pharmaceutical and so forth, a common approach that we'll see because of the sensitivity of content and the need for compliance reviews and things like that is actually to record your content first, have the chance to review it, go through any review processes you need internally before it gets the green light, at which point we can come and broadcast it as a simulated live as well. So that's another opportunity we have here. Let's look at our live distribution options if we're actually going to go live with our content. Socialive allows you to stream live across really any and all of your channels all at once. It depends on which channels are relevant for your content and where you need to reach your audiences here. So it could be web pages, it could be social channels, internal channels like Microsoft and other internal systems. It could be virtual events platforms, many of which we're partnered up with, and really, Socialive as a content creation platform will deliver into any of these. So you see on my screen right now our Socialive embeddable player. It's a really turnkey way of putting content, live video content on your web page. But we also integrate with other hosting platforms. Brightcove is one of them, JW, and others. We integrate across the socials as mentioned. So if I want to deliver across my Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, we can stream live across all these channels at once. And what we see a lot is not just delivery across our company pages on these channels, but we think about, well, are there partners involved in today's content? We have our thought leaders involved. So maybe it makes sense on LinkedIn to not just share it to our company page, but also to our partners page and our thought leaders executive profile on the channel. You can do all of this at the same time. And in doing that, you're obviously spreading the message wider, you're reaching more audience. And you're also, in the case of maybe delivering to a thought leader's profile, you're actually elevating their profile on the channel itself. So these are pretty powerful mechanisms to exercise. It all comes back to your strategy and what's relevant for the content that you're producing and streaming live. Within LinkedIn, and Socialive is enterprise, kind of a preferred enterprise platform that LinkedIn will recommend, and we really enjoy our partnership with that team. We get to we get to develop our product in parallel with the LinkedIn Live product team. It means that we get to roll out some pretty exciting features as it relates to the LinkedIn Live experience, and vice versa. LinkedIn Live rolling out features that are that match what Socialive is doing. Here, what we're looking at are some recent product integrations, including the ability to deliver not just to LinkedIn profiles and pages, but also into events. These could be private events, meaning they're gated and you choose who gets in. It could be public events. You can also schedule ahead of time so that you have the opportunity of promoting on LinkedIn. Recently, we've also rolled out not just targeting for your LinkedIn live posts, but also automatic captioning. So if you choose to enable this, well, when you deliver live out to your LinkedIn audience, they'll be able to see live captions as well, which is great for accessibility. Live distribution opportunities are vast. We're making it easy to deliver across any of your relevant channels, and you can simulcast across all of the relevant ones at once. For today, we're just going to do a recording, and we're going to kick into it right now. Since I've already pre-built all of the scenes at the top of my screen, well, my job as the producer now is quite simple. But I want to share a few things before I start transitioning across the scenes I've created. First, I do not need to go in order. I remain fully nimble throughout this experience. So while I've preset this, I can jump to scene 3 if I want and immediately go into the live cameras. I can go backwards to scene 2. I can rearrange the order of these by dragging and dropping. So it remains fully flexible. For now, I am going to go ahead and queue up the video that I have next, and I'm going to send that into my recording now. Now, our videos here will play through, and they'll automatically advance to what's next, right? Again, I'm making my job easy as the producer. I don't need to manage this element. However, in this case, in the spirit of time, because this is almost a minute-long video, I will go ahead and advance this manually. So I'll queue up Tiffany here, our moderator, and I'll send this live. And when I do that as the producer, we haven't talked much yet about the green room experience and what our guests see as part of participating in the Socialive experience. We'll pull that up momentarily, but Tiffany's just received a cue. When I, the producer, sent her live, she sees that reflected on her screen immediately and knows that it's her time to deliver the opening remarks. So Tiffany can introduce things, and then essentially we're gonna bring in the remote guests. I queue it up, and now I can click a button to send it into my recording in this case. And we're all able to have our discussion. So Tiffany, Jason, how y'all feeling today? Lovely, thank you. One thing though, I wanna make some adjustments here on the fly. I mentioned we're not locked into this. So as we're going through this, maybe we wanna change how we're presenting things on screen a little bit. Maybe we decide, actually, we realize the 3 of us have some interesting content we wanna present visually. So I have the opportunity to actually change it up. Maybe we want to bring the video back in, or we want to bring some slides, from our PowerPoint in here. Well, we can easily do that. I'm rearranging my screen here in a way where only I as the producer see this. And when I'm ready, I can now send that change live. And so I've just made this adjustment on the fly. It's that easy to make any changes if we see fit on the fly. This might be stuff we've premeditated, in which case we could just have built a scene in advance to accommodate it. As mentioned, there's a ton of different layout opportunities here, so it depends on the content we're curating. At this point, as we're engaged in our discussion and we're talking over top this video, or we're walking through our slide presentation, we may say, hey, at this point, thanks all of our viewers for joining today. We're going to conclude our video now as the producer transitions to our, thanks for joining slide with a call to action. This was a really simple run of show, but it demonstrates some of the things you might leverage to create dynamics in your content, to create, calls to action you can bring in, leveraging media, leveraging, our graphics. So various ways of, again, just enhancing your storytelling, enhancing the quality, not just of the video resolution itself, but the quality of the messaging you're sharing, so that we're sure that it lands in a much better way with your audience, no matter if they're on social channels, within your virtual events platform, internally at your organization, wherever they may reside. We're going to end our broadcast or our recording now in our studio. And next up, we're going to take a look at the recordings we have as a result of this session we just did. So we're back on the Socialive dashboard. We've just concluded our session, and let's take a look now at the new recordings we have available to us. So you see there's a new thumbnail here that I'll click into. Immediately after our session, we have a number of things available. Here's our full production. So I can easily access the recordings. Obviously, I can download these if I want to grab the MP4s. But when we think about this, and this is really important now, we just demonstrated how we can create our rich on-brand video content for live streaming or just for the purpose of recording it. When we think about live opportunities, when we think about different stages of reaching our audience with our video content, there's a little bit of a journey that we need to consider, right? And it starts actually before we get the original video piece out. It starts with how we might promote that piece, and early on, how we start engaging our audience members with the right messaging and with what they might be able to anticipate in our forthcoming video. Some of this could be around how you source short form content in order to make it part of that kind of lead up in your promotional strategy prior to your live event or your, the publishing of your long form video. Then there's the moment in time where you actually deliver that. It's really easy to think about in the context of a live experience. Those are really powerful because we're all together. We're all sharing this experience as an audience. There's chat sections so we can interact with one another. It's different than like pulling up a video to watch in your own time, right? You're part of a community experience at that point. And so there's questions about how do you maximize that moment? And that's some of what we just touched on in our Socialive studio, right? That's going to be how you create a richer content experience in that moment. Then you think about the tail end of the journey. This is kind of stage 3, is what you do afterward. Well, we just created this great content. We've published it out to our viewing audience. How do we repurpose that content? How do we really maximize the great moments and repurpose those ongoing? So in addition to being able to download and review any of our recorded content here, we have the opportunities to create clips from this. Very quick, very simple. These are simple tools that allow you to really, isolate different moments from any of your recordings and create clips, snackable short form content, if you will. You're going to find that these are easier. This is a more consumable format, especially if you're not live, right? You don't have that community aspect of, hey, we're all here, we're all enjoying this together. After the fact, you want to break these into smaller moments. You can do it with your produced broadcast up top, as we just did. I went in, I grabbed a moment from that. I can create however many clips I want, by the way. We also, however, as part of our experiences here, whether we're broadcasting or recording, we're going to have individual audio video recordings from each of our guests in the experience. So here I have Tiffany and Jason, my guests today, and I have their own audio and video recordings throughout this entire session, independent of if and when they appeared in our broadcast or our recording, our composite recording, if you will. So down here, these are called ISO recordings, by the way. These are really important for video teams who might be really, solely focused on this footage capture from, in some cases, celebrity talent, in some cases, executives, and they want to do editing using that footage. Well, that's a use case. But additionally, let's think about maybe we're a social marketer or an events team, and we've just delivered out our live content to our viewing audience. Well, maybe I want to come in and create clips, not just from our produced content, but Tiffany, our subject matter expert, had such an amazing quote right here. We want to create a clip from that quote. because we're going to repurpose that across our social channels and drive engagement for, promote day 2 of our event, or promote, the next content piece as part of this series. We're giving you the tools to easily create these short form moments. And we can obviously download these so we're ready to publish them. However, in the case of any of these, we may decide it's not ready to publish yet. We actually want to send it back into our studio, which we can do with the click of a button, so we can easily add the right branding, the person's name, the right call to action, and finalize our short form asset before we choose to publish it out. We're giving you the tools to easily and quickly do this so that all of the work that you're putting in to create your beautiful, compelling video content in the first place, you can now maximize the value of that for weeks, if not months after the fact. Publish these out across socials, re-engage event attendees and retarget them, publish into your email blasts, use internally, right? Populate your LMS. There's really endless use cases for how you might think about doing this, but it's really important that along your video journey, you're thinking about what are you doing ahead of time to promote? How are you going to maximize the actual longer form content you're doing as part of your messaging strategy? And after the fact, how do you repurpose moments from that? There's one last thing I want to draw your attention to within our platform, because we've been within our Socialive studio, our creation environment for publishing out live or just creating on-demand recorded content. Within there, you have all the tools to make this really resonate with your viewers, because you can combine live elements with recorded elements, graphics, calls to action, and things that actually move the needle in your video content. As we think about our journey and how we might, let's say, source HD recorded content to promote our upcoming videos, or we want to source a message from somebody who actually can't participate in the live event we're doing, but we want them to be present, they'll contribute a video recording to us. Well, one of the other things that the Socialive platform allows you to do is very easily, very scalably source this content. So here within the mobile app, well, one opportunity is for our guest presenters to join in through mobile, actually. So that's done right here. There's a button they can click that brings them into our green room experience, which we're going to take a look at next and show you what it's like for our guests to join live and participate in our video productions. But one other opportunity that your guests can do is they can actually record and contribute a video to you. They tap a button and it puts them onto the camera. So I just pulled this into selfie mode, and we'll give this a title. I'm going to call this an event teaser, because we'll pretend like in this case we've asked one of maybe our keynote speaker for our upcoming event to record a video that we'll use to publish and promote ahead of time. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's show you what that recording experience looks like. It's really simple. They tap a button. It'll give them the count in, and then they can actually record the message. Hey, everybody. We are excited to be going live on our channels next week as part of our live event. Please be sure you tune in then. And additionally, please drop your questions in the comments below, because we'll be answering them live. Look forward to seeing you. And when they click stop, that's all they need to do. So there's a few powerful things about how this works. One, doesn't matter if your internet's good, bad, in and out during that recording, it's going to be HD each and every time. Number two, it's not even stored on your device. Number three, it automatically uploads seamlessly into your centralized Socialive library. So essentially, you can be equipping your team members, your subject matter experts, your guest presenters with this capability, so that no matter where they are, they can act as a content contributor. And here's my events teaser that appears in my library. So I can easily watch it, download it if I want, and importantly, create a clip of the right moment and actually bring this into my studio so I can bring it to its final form, as I mentioned. So this is it's a comprehensive workflow that we're talking about. Your ability to source this content in the first place, your ability to review it and choose the right moments that you actually want to work with in creating your video content. And once this gives me this thumbnail, I'm actually going to bring it back into my studio to visually show you exactly what I mean when I talk about quickly being able to turn this into my publish-ready asset. Coming back, we're going to drop into our studio once more. I'm seeing chat bubbles come in, so I think we're getting some good, important questions. So we'll come back and discuss these in a moment. First thing I want to do is just kind of reset my scenes here. And in this case, we're going to, here's my event teaser. We just recorded it. I clicked the button that sent it right here into my studio, making it easy for me to bring in, add the right graphics. Maybe we want the person's name. Maybe we want a call to action. Let's bring in another call to action that this will land on. And I'm about to record my very short form teaser for our upcoming live event. And I literally, this can be a workflow that you execute within minutes. So we're just watching this playback. It's very short. It's about 8 seconds remaining. It's going to transition automatically to this, call to action that I have in scene 2. And bam, we're done. So I just created an 18-second teaser that we're now ready to publish out into, LinkedIn or anywhere else where we want our viewers to engage. Folks, we've just gone through quite a bit here in the platform. So I want to recap once more. I want to show you a little bit on what it looks like to join as a live guest, and then we're going to open it up for our Q&A. Just to close the loop on what we just did, here's that teaser, by the way. What does it look like for our guests? When I say guests, by the way, again, I'll just remind you that you're streaming it. I'm not talking about attendees or viewers. They'll be on your LinkedIn channel. They'll be in your virtual event platform or wherever you're sending and publishing your content. When we say guests in Socialive, we're talking about our guest presenters. So what I have up on my screen right now is a view of the Socialive green room. The green room is that lobby where our guests join into at the top of the session. We have a chance to make sure that we're ready to go before we actually begin our recording or begin our live stream. And then throughout the experience, they remain here. In the main area of the screen, we see all of our different guests who are joined up. And again, these could be our talent, our executives, our people who are featured on screen in the video. They also might be support hands though. Somebody, an executive assistant who's there to help provide comfort during the experience. It could be somebody who's managing, welcoming our guest presenters into the experience when they first arrive, or helping, with the Q&A portion. So this is going to be everybody who's involved from the video creation standpoint. We have the main area where we see one another. On the right-hand side, we have a monitor showcasing what's actually being produced at that moment. And we have a text-based chat as well. So in addition to being able to verbally communicate in our green room, we can text message as well internally. At any given moment, the producers may have a few people live on screen. Those folks it's indicated clearly in the green room, who's live versus who's backstage. And if you're one of the people who's live, you see it very clearly across your screen. So this is a very easy experience, right? A lot of the time, these sorts of guest presenters who are joining are going to be people who might be new to the world of video. They might not be very tech savvy. They need an easy experience that will present them in high quality so that they can focus on the content and messaging that they're presenting, right? The reason they're here in the first place. So it's very easy to join these experiences, and then essentially they can sit back and look for cues. Folks, I'm going to conclude the walkthrough here, although we're about to open it up for your questions that you've been, I'm excited to see you've been sharing questions throughout here. So I'm going to stop my screen share for a moment as we get into that, and I'm excited to tackle these questions. And Kylie, I'm going to ask for a little help from you as well if you want to unmute, and maybe we can go through and start answering these. This is awesome, Kylie. I'm just realizing you've been answering these in the chat along the way. So, yeah, is this like OBS? I mean, Socialive is a comprehensive video platform. So there's various things that exist that you can do live streaming. You can do recordings, right? We're comprehensive. We're going to be your platform that allows you to easily source recorded content that you can use in any of your produced, video productions, but also for, promoting ahead of time, for, continuing to promote the message after the fact. We're here to help you deliver live content out to your viewers, but also just, literally use the platform as a recording vehicle to make sure you're getting HD recordings in terms of your full production, but also from each guest. And then we give you all the tools you need to repurpose and really extend the value of any of the content that you've created in the first place. So Socialive is a comprehensive video platform that really at the enterprise even really suits across any number of use cases across any number of teams, different from OBS and some of the other live streaming tools that are out there.
Hey, Jonathan. Sorry,
hey.
I was muted. I'm just going to ask, so TJ asked, can you speak to the security of this platform, such as SSO, whitelisting, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So first off, I mean, Socialive is implemented across a lot of firms, Fortune 100 firms that are in regulated industries, and those types of organizations, whether it's, financial services or, pharma and healthcare, or global consulting firms, have rigorous security processes in order to have technology platforms onboarded to be used by the organization. So to that end, yes, we offer SSO. Yes, we offer. We do have a set of kind of URLs that would be whitelisted in our team. Beyond being a technology provider, we also have, as part of how we work with our customers, customer success here at Socialive, which really become partners with the users of the platform, not just to think about use cases and strategies as it relates to video, not just to train you and make sure that you're using the technology in the best possible way, but also as part of initial onboarding is working with IT teams and security teams to make sure that if it's SSO, if it's whitelisting of certain URLs or anything that needs to happen, to make sure that there's kind of a seamless integration within the organization. We're a highly secure platform. Security is of utmost importance to us.
Awesome, great answer. And then we also have another question from Tammy. Does Socialive have a built-in chat Q&A polling feature that can play out across all platforms, or do you partner with third-party companies?
That's a great question as well. Yeah, so we're often, so Socialive being where the content is created, often those polling mechanisms are on kind of the attendee experience side of it, right? So it might exist within maybe a virtual events platform that you're already using, or it could be a third-party integration, some of whom we're partners with, to facilitate that sort of polling, assessment, various styles of managing Q&A and so forth. And there are ways to easily kind of bridge these worlds within Socialive so that they're not isolated, right? So that polling that's happening can also be presented back through the video content you're sharing, or that the personalities on screen can be, verbally addressing any of those sorts of activities that the viewers are engaged with. Great question. It happens all the time in the platform. You wouldn't initiate it from the Socialive side. However, you would use Socialive to prompt and ensure that your audience is engaging with those mechanisms in the right way. Ultimately, it would be a third party, probably, if it doesn't exist within your existing virtual events platform.
Awesome. And another question from TJ. Do the guests have the ability to advance their own slides? TJ,
yes.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the answer is yes. So, when we talk about slides, that can be done any number of ways, but often that will be maybe a screen share, for example. That's one way to do it. And the producer could be one presenting slides and advancing, or it could be guests. It could be individual guests when it's time for their moment. They open up their screen share and advance their own slides. And maybe if there's another individual later in the presentation who has their own set of slides, they could rinse and repeat. They too could share their screen and advance them. What we see often is you can streamline that. You might have a guest in the green room who is sharing screen and has the full PowerPoint and is advancing slides on behalf of everybody. So you'd have speakers speaking to their slides, but somebody else is advancing them. These are all possibilities of how it could be done.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions, last minute concerns that you want to share? All righty. I think we answered all of them. Zoom integration.
Yeah, so Zoom integration, yeah, we can absolutely bring in Zoom as a live source that the producer can use. So when we think about when we were within our studio environment, and on the left-hand side, we had our sources that we could use. There was uploaded videos and images, within our media section. There's also the live sources. The live sources are different cameras. We can have our guests joining through the Socialive system, through our mobile app, or through their browser. However, additionally, we can have Zoom feeds coming in. That's done through RTMP. So really anything that can stream RTMP, you can bring into Socialive as a source, and that includes Zoom meetings. To go a step further, we also enable NDI devices. It's just another type of live source that a producer can choose to enable and integrate into their broadcast or recorded content. In terms of delivering out, Zoom is a closed platform. So there's actually no way really to unless you have like hardware connected, there's really no way to stream into a Zoom meeting. It does go the other way though, as mentioned. You can bring Zoom in as a live source into Socialive.
Great. Any other questions, guys? Well, we have Jonathan here. He is our in-house expert, so ask away.
I do appreciate all the questions here. I know we have again, it's a fairly intimate group in the style of this meeting as well. I think makes it that much more intimate. Please do, let's say, we'll give it a, we'll give the floor again for a few extra minutes in case anybody has questions that they're typing up now. Just drop them into the chat. And otherwise we'll wrap up the session. We'll look forward to the next one. For presenting to Zoom, is screen sharing best? For presenting to Zoom, does that make sense? I'm not sure. Let me try. I'm not sure I understand that question, actually. Feel free to try again. For presenting to Zoom, is screen sharing best? My gut is that you're asking about, given that Zoom is closed, what might be a way that you actually integrate content that you produce in Socialive? Okay. You could do it through screen share. I think you're probably sacrificing a little bit in the experience to do that. So there might be a time and a place to use screen share to present, the content into Zoom. I think alternatively, you may choose to think of an alternate venue. It might not be Zoom where you end up, bringing your audience if you're looking to have an up-leveled content experience. This is really what we see in the space. I mean, Zoom is amazing for meetings. It's amazing for intimate sessions like this. I think when you get to the point where you want more control in the content experience, you want more storytelling abilities, more production. Given some of the limitations of Zoom today, it might make sense to explore other platforms that you can bring your audience to allow something like Socialive to deliver into and facilitate that enriched content experience. TJ, do guests need to stay on mute when in the green room? For instance, are they only heard by the audience when their scene is pushed live? You are exactly right, TJ. Guests do not need to, worry about their own muting or unmuting. It happens automatically as a result of what the producer does. When the producer brings a guest from the green room live into the presentation, at that moment, the guest becomes not just visible, but audible to the viewers out there. And when the producer sends them backstage again, they're no longer in the recording or in the broadcast. Virginia, that's a great question. So can you use Socialive for hybrid events, live and stream? Yes. This is an important question, I think, because it speaks to a little bit of future state, right? Right now, we, physical events were happening. There was a little bit of hybrid there. Socialive has been used for years to helping to deliver content from physical events out to, remote audiences and helping expand your audience in doing that, right? Really leveraging the opportunity to reach people digitally. And then COVID hit and there was no more physical events and a lot of teams pivoted to a virtual format. Socialive every day is used to help teams deliver their virtual events into any number of kind of attendee hubs or viewer platforms that exist out there. In the future, and it starts right now, teams are planning for when physical starts happening again, and we want to do a hybrid approach, which will be part physical and part virtual. And that's so that we can really, again, maximize who we're reaching and how. There's going to be, meaningful experience for those who are on site with us in person, and we're going to be able to reach maybe 100x more people digitally, right? Because of the nature of digital, right? And that geography doesn't really matter. So unlocking that opportunity is key. Can you use Socialive for it? Absolutely. So this might be about curating, special content experiences that give remote people insight into what's happening on site. It might be the broadcast of, say, keynotes and breakout sessions into virtual environments for people remote to be part of while it's actually happening physically on site. There's any number of ways this could happen. Hybrid is going to be key in the future. Or I'd say, I think now and in the next few weeks and months, we'll start seeing more and more of this. Any number of ways that could happen though. So, Socialive would be excited to partner up with you and think through what that looks like for your specific needs. I don't see any other questions coming in. So I think that we would probably look to conclude this session now. I would just love to thank everybody for their time. This is really awesome. We're going to be doing these regularly, so stay tuned for our messaging around the next product open house here. Additionally, folks, any questions you have, any opportunities that you want to discuss, please feel free to reach out to the team. You can reach us on the website. You can reach us in email. We're here for you and excited to see you again on the next one.